Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 3rd of February 2020. Okay, so let's have a look at a few pairs and see what's going on for the week ahead. If we focus here initially on the American dollar Swiss franc, as we can see here, price is currently reacting at this area of weekly demand. You can see it also clearer here. We've got this one here. Okay, price poked into it once, twice. You can see we had returns to this demand here, here, and here. So this is a deeper push. So the beginning of the buy zone initially was here. Price tested it deeper, deeper, and now we're having a deeper push, as you can see here. And so price has actually returned to the edge of this area of demand, which was tested initially here. And so this is debatable whether this area is still in play. We had a bit of a reaction, a nice one, actually a 1-to-1, but price has moved through it, as you can see here, all the way to the lows, which brings our attention to an area that's just below, which is this one here. The reason I'm marking this area off here is because this closed above the high, and these three candles are related and defined as accumulation, and the slingshot was pulled back to here. And so an interesting area here is the 0.9519 area, but this one is still in play, it's still holding. We also have this child which we're still reacting at. We have not removed this yet. So if we have a look on the smaller time frame and see what's going on inside, you can see that we have this. You can see the beginning of the buy zone is just here. Okay, so we have a push above, so we have two areas. We actually have this one here, and we have an area below, which is this one here. You can see the price pulled back to the low there, right there. That's what we have. If we look at where price is, so price moved through the top one, and so this small continuation pattern has been removed at the upper edge of this weekly demand. Now we still have this one down below. Okay, so for the time being, we are in a pretty clear downtrend. We just have very clear lower lows and lower highs. Okay, this has been removed, and so this brings our attention to this area here and the areas of supply above that are responsible for price moving below here. But keep in mind that we are reacting at this, so we could end up having a push lower and then a continuation higher up into opposing areas of supply. Okay, so that's what we have there. If we have a look at the, remove all of these. The Canadian dollar, so price is beginning to poke into the weekly supply that Pipnotic software identified for us, and this lines up pretty nicely with this downward sloping trend line. So if we look at this, we have, first of all, I want to look for a significant push. So I'm looking for these like this. Like so. Okay, so we've got these pushes lower, and you can see the price has already been to here, and we moved a little bit deeper. We retested that, and now we've moved a little bit deeper. So price is actually focusing on this one here. Okay, and when price left here, we managed to close above this, which is important. And so let's have a look at that. So looking at this, you can see that price came down, we moved higher, the slingshot was pulled back to here. This is what we have here for an opposing area of demand. We have lower lows and lower highs. We have formed this area of demand here. This is the one that's responsible for consuming this little continuation pattern which moved below here. So these are all linked together. Mark that off. Got this here. Opposing area is just here. Okay, this is gone. And so we do have something in here which we can't see. We'll mark off like this, which could be worth having a look at. We'll do that in a second. But price is currently reacting at that. If we have a closer look, we do have an area of supply here. Daily nested, weekly nested within this this bigger weekly candle, and I like that quite a lot. If we go to the daily and have a closer look, you can see actually that we have, this is the one that's responsible for moving all of that supply. We'll just mark that off. Software found it for us like that. Then we have this one above here, and then we have our area that looks like this. Okay, nested within this weekly area, but note the price has pretty much kind of really had a pretty strong visit back to these areas historically. So you can see here that price has visited this area. We change the color. It's already been back in this area here. Price returned to this, and price has already been back up to this area here. So it's pretty messy, I think, as you can see. And so while price could easily go up here, find some sellers, and then move down, and price has already revisited these areas historically. And so we need to find fresh area, and we have a kind of a fresh pullback here. And when price moved below here, we came from here. Price came up, we couldn't pull back, move any higher, and we left. We pulled back, we had an attempt, and we've kind of been breaking down ever since then. But this one here is still in play. We had a lovely departure. We managed to move below this here. Okay, so this area of demand was removed by this area here. So this kind of qualifies this area of supply as supply. But note as well that we did have a downward sloping trend line, so market structure is broken. The origin of the move that did it is kind of somewhere down here. Okay, if we have a close look, you can see that this is probably a weekly area. Yes, so you can see this pretty clearly on the weekly chart. We have like this. Okay, so we have a weekly area of demand here, and now we're just kind of poking up into here. This overlaps nicely with this downward sloping trend line, so I think that we can probably see some people entering short at this area here. The swaps aren't too punishing for us, so shorts around these areas would be pretty interesting. Also because of the fact that we do have downward sloping trend line and weekly nested daily supply lining up nicely together. Okay, so let's remove these. Go the American dollar, Japanese yen. Yep, so what's going on here? So we had this low, it was taken out by this. Okay, now this is gone. The area that did it is this one. Okay, tested once, twice, still holding, so prices kind of wriggled high since then. But note that we had this low, and we had a couple of areas of supply. We had this one initially, then a continuation pattern around here. And the reason I'm choosing this low here, the low for the box here, is because the range of this candle is in the range of the body. So the body of this candle is in the range of the previous. This one is the one that closed below. The slingshot was pulled back to here, and so this is where we'd expect price to go. And we were selling down here and managed to get some nice trades off this area of supply. So we have that. We go to the shorter term and have a look. There's not a lot to do for the time being. We do have this area of demand down here. Kind of mark it off like that. It's the nested area. Price moved above these highs. We had this area of supply. Sorry, demand. That was tested. And it was removed by what? By this. This area of supply was taken out by what? By this. So this is all gone. Now price is kind of moving lower. The beginning of the buy zone is here for this area of demand, so I wouldn't look to buy until we get down towards these lows here. Okay, we do have some stuff going on here. We do have micro supply here, which was, I shan't go on the small time frame, but you can see we have something here. It was tested, it finally got removed. This one did it. This is one that tested and then removed. Okay, so below price we have this. Okay, which is kind of a reaction to this. So we have the parent, the child, so I'd probably move it down to here. I would have a look at a closer look, but also note when price came down, we managed to move pretty far into this area. So here. So that would bring my attention to the lower end of this area of demand. Okay, so we still have not moved below this low, so there's nothing to do up here. We're just still reacting off this weekly area of supply. Okay, so the time being, we need price to kind of move below this low before we start selling. And we're gapping down, so this shows a lot of strength on potential downside. We do have this upward sloping trend line, so market structure is still intact. So longer term, I think we're looking to buy. Let's have a look. Remove all of these and have a look on the monthly and see if that tells a different story. So here we're pretty clear. High, low, lower, low. Mark these off here. We're starting to cause this trend line to break. We have not managed to have any bodies outside of this So there's not a lot to do there, but down here might be interesting because price went down, we went up, the slingshot was pulled back to here. Let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. So we have this really nice low, and we're much lower. And here we have some accumulation here. Price managed to trade lower. This one closed above the highs of this, and so the slingshot is down here at the 105.73. But for the time being, price is still moving higher. Ideally, we want some more. We want these highs to be removed before we start buying, and we want this low to be taken out before we start selling. But it could go either way for the time being. Okay, so before we can sell, we want to be removing this, and this is the opposing area of demand. And for selling, let's have a look. Well, we do have these areas here. We have this area of supply. We moved below here. Price tested it. So the beginning of the sell zone for that area is the high of this pullback here. So the slingshot was pulled back to here. So we could sell a little bit higher or buy lower. Okay, let's have a look at some others. Let's have a look at the pound, American dollar. What's going on here? Yeah, this is looking pretty strong. See, we have downward sloping trend line, so we have market structure which is down. It's now been broken, so market structure has failed. We have this demand. We also have this area below, which is interesting. The beginning of the buy zone is the low of this candle there. So we do have this, which has been tested. So if we have a look what price is doing there, your price is beginning to drift higher. So this area of demand has held so far. We have upward sloping trend line, low, high, low, high. This overlapped pretty nicely with this area of weekly demand. And that's looking pretty great. We have this area of supply, which is still intact. And so this would be an area to watch out for if you're buying, and to look for some shorter term sells. But ultimately we have this up here. And this is interesting because when price left here, we managed to move below this and below a lot of these pretty important lows here. If we do an analysis and see where all this stuff comes from, we had a really strong push from here, which is tested. It was removed. The area that did it is this one. So here we have a child. Here's the parent, and I say that because this is reacting to this. Okay, and this one is more. This is more established. Independent, that we're just testing the highs here, but we'll mark this one off here because this is a clear reaction to this. And we do have this here. Okay, so this one tested, this one's tested, so this one's gone. Which one removed it? Now this one did here. So we have this area here that took out this one that we marked off, but notice that this is a reaction to this, which is a reaction to this. Mark off the first clear one, we have this. Now this one is gone, and the area that did that is this one here. So this is how we ended up with this purple box here. Okay, if I get this right. Okay, so this is holding, lining up nicely with this, and this one has been taken out, as you can see. But notice that these are all linked together. This is testing this is testing this. And so price is looking to go lower. And so what we could do in a situation like that is you find the all-time low, and you find the deepest retracement after price left this area. And if you look at that, we had this one, then price went deeper, then price stopped going any deeper. So this is the area of the buy zone for this major low here. And this is roughly where price came to before it identified, right before it found liquidity in order to push price higher. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I think that due to the fact that we're taking out highs and we're forming demand below price, that we could see this continue to move higher. Okay, so this is the next area to watch. It's been tested, so careful there. But this is another area here that we could look for areas at which we could sell. But notice as well that we had high, low, high, low, high, low. Price pulled back here, and then we moved below these lows. So beginning of the sell zone for this area is here, and so an analysis of this little wick here might be interesting, so we'll do that very quickly. We can find that one. Yes, and you can see that very clearly here. There's a pretty huge influx of sellers from this area here. So I'd be more comfortable selling here than I would here. Just because if you look at this, we have a low and we have a high low. And now we're starting to take out major highs. Okay, and so this is telling me, what makes me feel as if that we're going to continue moving higher. So you want to probably be selling above these highs here at opposing supply. We have one here, and we have a few ugly ones in here. So this is not very pretty here. This one here is probably the one that may be interesting, but price has already been back to this level here. So I would certainly be looking higher, maybe this area here. This is probably the first area I'd begin to look to sell, but this is very, very far away from price. Okay, let's clear all these off. We'll do the Euro USD, and then we'll have a look at the S&P. So having a look here, what are we doing? Well, this is important to note here that we have big high, big low, a new big high. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to look for areas that we can look and buy at. If you look here, when price left here, we went all the way, we went above these highs here. And so for this area, this low here, the beginning of the buy zone is here. So the low of this area there. So from this area here. Okay, price, there's no supply in here on the monthly chart. We had a little bit here, which took out this low here, but there's not a lot of supply at this area here. We have a ton up here, and we have a little bit above these highs here. Probably something in this liquidity void here that we could look for on the smaller time frames. So for the time being, I mean, this area of supply is holding. Okay, and demand is lower. You can see that we had from the low here, this is where the slingshot was pulled back to before we managed to close above these highs. And these are all linked together because the bodies of these candles in the range of the previous. This is a candle that cut away, the low is here. So I mean, buying at the 1.0840ish area, or beginning to look for positions to buy are interesting there, I'd say, but I'd like this to be removed before. So a push higher and then a push lower, and then would be interesting. But then it's pretty messy up here. So let's have a look in the weekly and see what we can find there. Come on. Okay, so we have this area of demand that has been tested. Note that when price left here, we moved above this high here. We're still reacting at this. Okay, this is where we bounced. Price left here, we moved below here. We tested that. We had market structure that failed on its way down from here to here, so we can draw it like that, which qualifies this as a nice area to buy. And this is interesting because we managed to take out this and this, so retracements down into this area. We did not get all the way back down to the 109.40ish area, but we did manage to have this area of demand form. We moved above this high here. Software found it nicely. This is the area of demand. Price had a bounce there, but on the lower side of this upward sloping trend line. And so looking for areas to sell, you could look, I'd like to look higher here, because this kind of closed below the range of this one, and the slingshot was pulled back to here. So the 1.12 would be interesting, I think, but careful, because sorry, no, that's fine. From the 112 area, I'd like price to poke through here and then come back up here before we start to sell. But I think shorter term, this would be an interesting place to sell. We have a look on the daily. We do have other things setting up. So we do have a downward sloping trend line. As you can see, we have a high, low, lower high, lower low, continuation patterns moving below. This is cool because we had this area of demand. Come on. This area of demand that formed here. Come on. Okay, price left here. Okay, we started to move higher at the beginning of the buy zone. Was here. And so in a situation like that, you don't get burned on trying to trade all of these ones. You wait for price to come back down. So this is the beginning of the buy zone. This is the demand. The slingshot was pulled back to here. This is where price bounced. And now we're moving higher off the back side of this trend line, on the lower side of the trend line rather. So we have this like that. Price is poking in that. And above that we have this. So we could see price wriggle down. But this is a child. This is the parent. So I'm going to mark this off here. You can see so we've got that. Yes, we have a couple of areas there that could be interesting. We could start here, and this is a nice area. Then we have the weekly area just above that. Okay, so there are a couple of areas to watch there. Below price, and we have this area here. This area took out this supply, which was tested a few times, and now it's gone. The area that did it is this one. For this area of demand, the buy zone is the low of the deepest retracement. So that might be interesting. So if this trend line holds, maybe look at this area here. Alternatively, we do have this weekly area down here. We have the beginning of the buy zone right there. So that would be a pretty interesting area, I think, to begin. Start to buy in for selling. Yeah, we looked at those daily areas just here that line up pretty good with these this trend line. Okay, let's have a look at the S&P. Let me remove all of these objects. Okay, so have a look here on the monthly. Wow, that's a really strong market there. We haven't looked back for a while still, but now that we started painting uncertainty candles. So we have this candle here, and you can see that the close of this candle is below the high of the previous candle, the previous month. So this month did not manage to make higher closes. That's pretty important. Okay, so that's telling us that the price is kind of taking a bit of a breather. We don't know why. I mean, the coronavirus, and I mean, there are a lot of fundamental reasons for this to happen, I think, at the moment. But we do have price beginning to break down. As we can see, we're gapping lower on the weekly, upward sloping trend line. We have closes below the trend line. So this is looking pretty interesting. I know some institutional guys who are starting to accumulate positions short on the S&P. They're looking, the fundamentals are beginning to break down, and so I mean, they're saying that there's no recession today or tomorrow. They said, but these are kind of some signs that things may begin to move lower. Okay, so we talked about this last week, where we had this little area here. Okay, we had the lows, so the gap is here. Actually, it's clear on the 4-hour chart. Here we had let me turn on the supply and demand analysis. So we had this was marked off last week. It was tested once, tested twice, so a couple of nice trading opportunities there. We discussed this area here. Price had a really nice bounce off that area there. We do have some micro areas above here, but I don't know if we're going to get there. If we have a look below price, we do have quite a few areas. We have this one here, which is interesting. This is a gorgeous area as well. It's been tested. And then we have this one down here. And below that, it's looking for the really clear areas. We do have this one here, which is still untested. Okay, and when price left here, we managed to trade above these highs. This is kind of a significant high. Price retraced. We pull back. The demand causing price to move above those is here. So this could be an interesting place to begin to accumulate some long orders. If you dare buying when price is so high. This is also a nice one here. We had a big pullback, a test of that, and this is the demand that caused price to trade above that. So this is an important area. This is an important area. Yes, there's a lot going on there. But price is beginning to break down. For the time being, I'm waiting for some some clear. Yeah, we could, technically speaking, we could do this. We do have lower highs and lower lows, so we do have a technical downtrend, as you can see pretty clearly. We do have this area here. This is supply that caused the break of this trend line, kind of a premature trend line, but this is a supply trend line here. We have this up here, so there's price is very clearly breaking down. We do have this area here as well, the edge, like a 4-hour area of supply that caused this area to be removed. So these are all linked together, these 16 hours of accumulation. This candle closed above. When price left here, we moved above here, which qualifies this as demand, and this supply took it out. So we do have a couple of areas that we could watch to short here. Okay, so stops above here. Okay, so that's what we have for the time being. Let's remove that daily one there. So that's what we have here on the S&P 500, and I'm going to leave it with that. Running on about half an hour, but I hope you found value in the video. If you have any questions, send them in or leave them in the video below, and remember to subscribe if you wish to receive updates. Thanks for watching.